program. It goes into the ideology that's guiding Iran's leaders and their history in terms of sponsorship of terror around the world and the brutality of their own citizens for the past 30 years.
How long have you wanted to make this film for?
Well, I think the first instincts I had to tell the story about Iran began in 2009. I was sitting in a conference where they were talking about the threat of a nuclear Iran in the Middle East and also to the United States. So I started to read about it. I read The Rise of Nuclear Iran by Dori Gold. I read The Persian Night by Amir Taheri, and I understood after reading those two books that there was something much deeper that most Americans didn't know, and I wanted to help expose that.
How dangerous was it to make the film? I know that you guys have some footage that I think you said had never been seen before in the film as well. Is that true? Or
I think that it's not.
Interviews,
I think that most of the footage has been available, but it's rare in the sense that most Americans haven't seen it. And what we tried to do was compile footage from across different variables, from the ideology to the terror to the nuclear program, together into one sort of 60-minute primer that really could explain the threat in a compact and digestible format that hadn't been done before.
You spoke to a variety of people for the film, correct? I saw Dori Gold's name on the list, Senator John Kyle. Right. What do you think was maybe the most fascinating interview that you did, or who said something that surprised you the most?
Well, I think one of the most striking and yet humorous but scary comments came from Michael Ledeen, and it wasn't in the film. We have over 30 hours of interview footage that we did with 25 experts and dissidents and politicians, because we wanted to be a collective voice, not just the voice of one or two experts. But Michael Ledeen said something incredible. He said that this metaphor describes Iran, the leaders of Iran, that is. He said that there's a scene in the famous James Bond movie Goldfinger, where James Bond is lying on a plate of gold, tied down, shackled down to the table, and there's a laser beam that's actually moving up the table, going towards his private parts. And this is what Michael Ledeen said, not me. And he said, I'm just retelling it. Yeah, it's from Michael Ledeen. And he said the same thing at our screening. And and James Bond looks up to Goldfinger, who's standing on a balcony perched above his table, and James Bond says to Goldfinger, Goldfinger, what do you want me to do? You want me to talk? And Goldfinger says, no, Mr. Bond, I want you to die. Michael Ledeen said that is the leadership of Iran today.
Wow, that's pretty chilling. What kind of feedback have you gotten from people as they're watching the film? What's been the response?
Well, I think to most average Americans, they are absolutely shocked. Because there's been this sort of slow boil with regard to Iran in the news. It's just been there for so long that either they think that the situation is not so serious, or it keeps escalating so slowly that we don't feel the situation getting hotter. But in fact, the situation is very hot, and Iran is on the threshold of acquiring illegal nuclear weapons. And that's what needs to be stressed here, is that the program is totally and completely illegal. Iran does not have any rights under international law to acquire nuclear weapons. And when you put that on top of some of the statements that Mahmoud Ahmadinejad and Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei have made about the United States of America, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad calling for the sinister, demonic power of the United States to be obliterated, and then you have the weapons to accomplish such a feat, it's very scary.
I always find it ironic every time he comes to the UN in New York to give a speech, the things that he says on our soil, because of the way our government set up, the freedom that we give him to say that.
Well, it's not just the speeches at the United Nations, but really Western media outlets have been lining up to interview Ahmadinejad, for years. I mean, we've seen him on Diane Sawyer, George Stephanopoulos, Larry King. I mean, he's like a prime interview if you can land him. I don't think I've seen any other heads of state interviewed in the past several years as much as Ahmadinejad has. And he's had ample opportunities to explain his side of the story. And this documentary shows the things that he will not say in those interviews. And that's why we thought that we should bring this to light to sort of elevate the debate and get Americans talking about what really are the intentions of Mahmoud Ahmadinejad.
If people want to see your documentary, what's the best way to do that?
Well, right now it's available for free online on our website.
Free!
Free online. Free. It's www.iraniumthemovie.com, and we did that because we think that the situation is urgent. Even after the revelations of the Stuxnet virus, I think that we need to be concerned that Iran is much closer to acquiring nuclear weapons than statements that have come out of the likes of Secretary Clinton over the past several weeks. The situation is urgent, and we urge as many Americans as possible to see it, to host screenings of the film in their homes, in their churches, synagogues, on college campuses. You know, in order for us to spread the word, we need to pass emotive tools like this on to sort of change public opinion. We need to take public opinion from over here, which is we don't want Iran to cross nuclear weapons, to over here, which is we feel that this is a significant threat to us, to 300 million Americans, should Iran cross the nuclear threshold, and we don't want to tolerate it.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
for the work
Thank
that you do. Thanks.